Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. Happy Monday. Let's now have Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque.
Magandang umaga Pilipinas, magandang umaga po sa mga miyembro ng Malacañang Press Corps. Meron po tayong dalawang resource persons ngayong araw na ito. Sila po ay magdi-discuss tungkol sa Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, Train Law. At ang ating mga panuhin po ay ang Assistant Secretary ng spokesperson ng Department of Finance, si Attorney Paula Alvarez, at saka ang Assistant Secretary rin po ng Domestic Finance Group, si Assistant Secretary Teresa Habitan. So please, let's welcome Attorneys Paula Alvarez and Assistant Secretary Teresa Habitan. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Today we'll give you a short presentation and explanation on train and its impact to inflation. So I'll try to do it in English and Filipino para it's easier for everyone to understand and para it's easier to digest. So initially, as a recap, As a recap, so what did we do in tax reform? So the package 1, so ngayon, ang naririnig po natin karaniwan, yung mga excise taxes. Pero, ang hindi natin nababanggit is what did we do to also contribute funds to the general public? So first, we simplified and we lowered the personal income tax. So we also restructured the tax for self-employed professionals at a flat tax of 8%. So we also reduced and restructured the donors tax to a single tax rate of 6% and extra tax also for those exceeding standard deduction of 5 million, we also increased it to 10 million. So what else did we do? We broadened the VAT system by removing reducing the number of exemptions. We staggered the increase of excise taxes on petroleum products. We simplified the excise tax on automobiles, introduced a sugar-sweetened beverage tax, and introduced other taxes as well. So, second slide. So what has the government been doing? So first, as you can see, the year-on-year, so yung Q1 of 2017 and Q1 of 2018, if you compare them, the tax collection of both BIR, BOC, and the other offices actually increased. And our non-tax revenues as well also increased. On our expenditure effort, it means that we have been investing more on infrastructure and we have been adding more to our economic growth. So even our expenditure effort is also growing. So next slide. So what has been the initial effect of this tax reform effort? So according to S&P credit ratings, we were increased from stable to BBB+. So this is positive for our economy because it signals abroad and the international market that we are a very investable country. So next. So historically, so a lot of people have been talking about inflation. So if you would look at it historically, inflation is very moderate. It's normal for inflation to be increasing year on year because every year historically it really increased. But what we want to look at is if it is increasing on a moderate pace or if it's spiking up very, very quickly. If you would look at the graph, as of the moment, our inflation rate are increasing moderately, and this is normal for a growing economy. But if you look at the month-to-month progression of the impact of trade on inflation, it is actually decreasing. So it means that the effect of the trade on inflation is actually softening. So next slide. So what are the 10 drivers of inflation? So in a commodity group, we chose the top 10 of the most commodities that are contributing to inflation. And these are fish, these are those that we are flashing on the screen. Now, what does this mean? How do we relate this to what's actually happening? So what we are trying to say is that when you look at inflation, it's not all about train. So what we have is that train only gave an impact of 0.4 percentage points to the overall inflation rate. And it is not only train that is contributing to inflation because number one, we have to consider global prices of oil. So although it is increasing, we have heard from the OPEC countries and Russia that they are in talks of increasing oil production. So we are looking forward to the effects that this will give to our supply of oil. Number two, what we also have to consider is the decreasing value of peso. So, okay, so with the decreasing peso, it's not entirely bad. Number one, it's decreasing because interest rates in the United States are increasing. So it's normal that people would pull out their money and bring it to the United States. Number two, we have been contributing to giving more money in people's pockets. So how do we explain this? For example, when we lowered the personal income tax, we actually gave money to the people for them to spend. When we gave unconditional cash transfers, we also increased the spending power of the people, as well as when now we are going to give free education, that will also contribute to inflation. Because once you give more money in the market, right now, people, instead of saving, they actually spend. And you can see this because the amount of income of Jollibee, of McDonald's, actually increased. So you would see that people are actually spending, and this is also contributing to inflation. So, next slide, please. Okay, so for oil excise, as you can see, although the gas and diesel prices actually increased, only the top percent, or the one highlighted in pink, is because of train. All the other factors, or the bigger factors beneath, that is actually because of international prices. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so when we calculated for the impact of train to inflation, what we did was to have a standard of 50 to 60 pesos US, 50 to 60 US dollars per barrel. But as you can see, the Dubai crude oil actually increased in a fast pace. So it wasn't accounted for, but now we have we actually inserted buffer provisions in the train law, wherein once the average oil international price reaches around 80 US dollars, then we can actually suspend the implementation of the next tranche of increase in the excise prices of oil in the succeeding years. So this also, as we were mentioning earlier, because of the devaluation of the peso, which is also because of larger imports of capital equipment, of heavy machinery, because right now we're doing build also. So a lot of manufacturers and businesses, they're importing capital goods. So because they are importing, the demand for dollar actually increases. That's why the peso is also going down. But this is not entirely bad, because if you look at it on the other side, the remittances of OFWs actually are increasing because of the higher exchange rate of the dollar. So the ones entering the market, the money flowing inside the country is actually also increasing. So next slide, please. So this also contributes to the rapid increase in retail of gas prices. But as we earlier mentioned, we are looking forward to the discussions of the OPEC countries and Russia in increasing output of oil. Next slide, please. Okay, so another concern is that inflation is now one of the top concerns of Filipinos. Although this is true, it is not only now that we are concerned about inflation. If you will look at it historically, even in 2010, ever since, inflation, regardless of whether it's going up or if it's going down, has always been on the top 3 concerns of every Filipino. So next. So what we want to show is that while inflation is moderately increasing, the SWS survey on self-rated poverty and hunger actually decreased. So it means that people feel that they have more money. So it actually, our national, yung hunger, how people see themselves, if they are poor or not, it actually decreased. So this is actually good, because although a lot of people are saying that the poverty rate would be increasing because of inflation, it's actually not true, because self-rated poverty, the people itself, they themselves already rate themselves as it's actually decreasing. So what else do we have to consider? So another thing that we have to consider is that aside from the implementation of the train, we also have new laws. For example, yung ating tarification bill, which is already in the process of in the legislative mill. Once this is passed, we assume that we think that it will lower the impact of inflation, because it will increase rice importation in the Philippines, and it will only be subject to tariffs. Number two, we think that the passage of the national ID system will help us efficiently administer the unconditional cash transfers, because it would be easier now to determine which of the people are the beneficiaries, because one of the problems in implementing the conditional and unconditional cash transfers is that not all Filipinos have proper identification. So syempre, lalong-lalo na po yung nasa rural areas, like na nasa probinsya, hindi naman po lahat sila may ID. And it's very hard to determine sino ba talaga yung dapat covered ng conditional and unconditional cash transfer. So ngayon na we already have yung national ID, mas madali pong maibigay yung transfer sa mga tamang tao. So that's our presentation, and if you have any questions or clarifications, we can answer you.
MPC questions? Rose Novenario. Microphone, please.
Ay, good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, sa haba po ng paliwanag ninyo, no, ang gusto lang pong malaman ng pangkaraniwang mamamayan, paano po maiibsan yung kanilang paghihirap sa sunod-sunod na pagtaas ng presyo ng lahat ng produkto. Sa langis po, kulang-kulang na pong 20 times na tumaas ang presyo ng langis mula po nung ipinatupad ang train. Ano po yung maitutulong? 15 or 16 times na po. So that's less than 20. Ano po yung maitutulong natin para maibsan po yung pahirap, considering na walang wage hike, meron po mga petisyon para sa fare hike. Ano po yung gagawin ng gobyerno rito? Sumusugat na po ito sa kabuhayan ng mga mamamayan.
Increase of oil prices? Yes.
Meron tayong slide kanina na pinakita tungkol doon sa presyo ng ito no, I think siguro i-highlight natin dito. Sabi nga kanina ni Asik Paula, karaniwang sinisisi sa train yung buong bilis ng taas ng presyo sa market, yung increase in inflation. Siguro kailangan lang nating linawin na ang pinagbubuhatan ng pag-increase ng price ng petrolyo, for example, no, hindi naman po lahat galing sa train. Kasi kung titignan nyo, yung taas ng diesel prices, for example, na around 10 pesos and 20 centavos, ang dahil lang po sa train dyan na diretso ay yung 2 pesos and 80 centavos. Dahil yung 250 na tinaas na pinataw na excise tax at yung kaakibat na VAT. So ano yung pinanggagalingan ng ibang increase na to, yung balance na 7 pesos and 40 centavos. Yan yung sinasabi namin na nanggagaling from the higher prices of petroleum products coming from abroad. Kasi ano tayo we are huge importers of oil. Most of our demand for oil, imported po lahat yan. So talagang kinakarga natin yung presyo ng galing sa abroad dito sa ating mga domestic prices. Tapos kasama pa yung depreciation nga po ng peso dahil din po sa increase ng Fed rates sa US, no. So nagkaroon po ng shift ang investor sentiment from emerging economies like the Philippines. Marami pong investable funds na pumupunta ngayon sa US. Tapos dahil nga medyo yung ating investment outlook mas maganda, yung ating pong mga kapitalista dito, yung businessmen, let's call them businessmen, meron po tayong nakikitang surge ng importation ng capital equipment. So yun yung nagiging dahilan ng ating pagtaas ng sa depreciation ng peso. Yung pong tungkol naman sa kung paano natin matutulungan, meron na pong 4.2 million families na nabigyan ng DSWD ng unconditional cash transfer. Ito yung isang ipinangako natin under the provisions of the train. At ang anticipation po natin by September, sana po lahat po na ng tao na gusto nating bigyan, and this is around 10 million families all in all, mabibigyan po natin ng tulong na unconditional cash transfer. At ang atin naman pong DOE at ang DTI, katulong din natin dito para bantayan naman kung medyo nagiging mas exuberant yung taas ng presyo na tinatawag natin unwarranted. para ano.
To answer you, no, yung sa tanong mo, unang-una sa lahat, yung ating DOE is already implementing a stricter control dun sa ating presyo ng langis. Kasi nga, meron pa rin mga reports na yung profiteering. Isang halimbawa dyan, kunyari, yung nangyari sa Yellow Cab. Sinabi nung kanilang mga empleyado na kaya daw nag-increase ang presyo nila dahil daw sa train. Pero pagkatapos nun, nag-issue sila ng public apology na hindi naman pala dahil sa train, kaya nag-increase yung presyo nila. Pero dahil sa global prices of cheese, at saka yung sa renta nila. Pangalawa, yung ating DOE rin nakikipagtulungan sa mga petroleum companies para magkaroon tayo ng discount para sa ating mga public utility vehicles. So ang gusto nating tulungan is syempre yung mga public utility vehicles. Kasi kaya rin naman natin in-increase yung presyo din ng langis kasi nung nakaraan, ang nasa-subsidize natin is yung mga mas mayayaman o yung may private vehicles. Dahil sila ang mas may maraming kinukonsumong langis, so ang nangyayari dahil mababa yung presyo, parang sinasubsidize mo yung mga private vehicles. So, pangatlo, ngayon, sinusubukan natin na yung ating implementation or yung ating yung sa restrictions on yung oil smuggling, inaayos din natin. So, ngayon nakikipag-ugnayan din tayo sa BOC at saka sa DOE paano natin malilimit yung mga pumapasok na langis. So, meron tayong mga hakbang na ginagawa rin sa BSP para yung ating, kumbaga yung sinasabing interest rates, magkakaroon tayo ng fiscal policies para malimit natin ito. So, pang-apat, ang isang nagiging dahilan kaya mahal ang mga produkto dahil kulang na kulang tayo sa logistics. Yung ating mga daan at saka yung means of transportation para ilipat mo ang isang good sa isang lugar papunta sa isa ay mahal kasi kulang nga tayo sa infrastructure. Kaya ngayon, binibilisan na natin ang pag-co-construct nga. Kaya tayo nagmamadali sa ating build para naman mas mapadali natin ang pagta-transfer ng goods from one place to another.
Ma'am, ang question ko po yung kagyat na solusyon po, yung kagyat, yung ngayon mismo na solusyon kasi yung epekto po nito ay pang-araw-araw po sa kabuhayan ng mamamayan. Yung mga binanggit po ninyo, makakatulong po ito, sigurado po yan. Pero baka po medyo magtagal pa bago maramdaman ng mga mamamayan. Yung kagyat pong solusyon yung kailangan po ng mamamayan. Considering po may babala din po si Senator Ping Lacson na ito pong nangyayaring ito baka raw po mag-snowball into a people power revolution dahil po kumakalam na ang sikmura ng mamamayan.
Opo. Yung dyan naman po, unang-una nga po sinasabi natin na yung survey nga po, ang self-rated poverty at ang hunger bumababa po. Ibig sabihin, bumababa naman po yung number ng mahihirap. Pangalawa po, yung ating unconditional at saka yung conditional cash transfers, in-increase na po natin. Tapos magbibigay rin po tayo ng libreng edukasyon. Ang kailangan po kasi natin maintindihan is para po umangat sa kahirapan ng ating mga mamamayan, kailangan bibigyan mo sila ng edukasyon, kailangan po nila ng trabaho. So, paano po natin gagawin yun kung hindi po tayo magsisimulang magreforma? So, nandiyan naman po yung mga subsidies na ating binibigay. Lalong-lalo na po yung sa healthcare, dinadagdagan po natin yan. So, yung kumbaga, imbis na pambibili mo ng gamot, nababawasan na yung babayaran mo doon. Kasi nga, nag-i-increase na tayo ng pondo para dyan. So, ang kailangan naman po natin talagang tignan, hindi naman po lahat ng reforma, madali-dali nating makukuha. So, kailangan din po nating balanse. Nagbibigay naman po tayo ng tulong, lalong-lalo na po yung unconditional cash transfers doon po sa pinakamahihirap na household. So sa tingin po natin, ito naman po ay nakakatulong at sapat na po.
Oo. Sagutin ko lang din, no? Well, tatlo yung na-anunsyo over the weekend, no? Yung pagpapabilis ng proseso ng pag-angkat ng diesel man lang na kalahati ang presyo galing pala sa Russia, no? So, meron na pong standing order at itong linggong ito, expect nakakalampagin talaga ang DOE at saka ang DFA na papabilis yung posibilidad na mag-angkat ng mas murang diesel at least sa Russia, no? Pangalawa, yung order nga po sa DTI na habulin yung mga lumalabag sa suggested retail price, no? At bukod pa po dyan, well, nakatulong naman po ang gobyerno ng ating presidente dahil ngayong Hunyo po, lahat ng mga estudyante sa state universities and colleges, at least libre na po ang tuition at matrikula, no? So, hindi na po problemahin yun, no? Alam namin po, humirap ang buhay, alam natin na pagtaas ng mga presyo ng mga bilihin ay dahil sa pagtaas ng presyo ng krudo sa pandaigdigang merkado. Kaya nga po, patungo tayo sa hakbang na humahanap tayo ng mga alternatipong mga supplier at ang projection naman po, no, dahil nga ang mga bansang Russia ay hindi miyembro ng OPEC at nag-i-increase sila ng production, may posibilidad na mapababa ang presyo. Pero sa ngayon po, ang prioridad talaga, subukan nating mag-angkat ng diesel man lang na galing po sa Russia, no? So, panimula pa lang po yan at inaasahan natin na sa cabinet meeting ng darating na 11, lahat po ng departamento ay magsasubmit din ng kanilang mga reports para sa alleviation measures, no? Dahil ito naman po talaga hindi inaasahan na biglang nagkagulo ng kaunti sa Middle East at naging dahilan kung bakit tumaas din ang presyo ng krudo sa pandaigdigang merkado.
Ay, last na lang po. Sir, ano po yung paninindigan ng palasyo dun sa tawag dito, gumugulong po na panawagan din ng mga senador na suspindihin pansamantala yung implementasyon ng train law?
Alam niyo po, tagapagpatupad lang ng batas ang presidente. Ang Kongreso po may ganyang kapangyarihan. So, ang gagawin po ng presidente, kung ano nakasaad sa batas, 3 buwan na 80 ang Dubai, po pwedeng masuspende yung mas mataas na excise tax, no? Oo, at meron pang excise, yung posibilidad na masususpenden yung VAT, no? May provision din ata na titignan, well anyway, may provision ako nakita, di ba? Na meron din posibilidad na yung VAT na kasi iba pa yung size tax sa VAT. Pero yun po ang kasagutan. Naku, kailangan po ng batas. Kapag ang presidente po ay nagsuspinde, yan naman po ay paglabag sa saligang batas dahil kami po kinakailangan bigyan ng implementasyon ng mga batas. Hindi po kami po pwedeng gumawa ng batas.
So, pabor po kayo dun sa sakaling manalo yung suspension ng sa...
Nasa Kongreso po yan. Kung talagang magkakaroon po ng batas, susunod po tayo na hindi natin kukolektahin yan. Pero ang pakiusap lang po, hindi naman po permanente itong nangyayaring krisis. Talaga naman pong krisis. Nakakaabala ang pagtaas ng presyo, no? Dahil mahigit 200% ang itinaas ng presyo at hindi natin yan talaga inaasahan dahil medyo stable naman yung presyo ng crudo, no? Pero temporary po to. Tignan natin kung anong mga pangyayari. Gaya ng sinabi ko, yung Russia ngayon nag-increase ng supply nila. Pati Estados Unidos po ngayon, biglang nag-increase ng exports nila ng crudo. Dati-rati po, hindi naman exporting country ng crudo ang Estados Unidos. Ngayon, ang pinakamalaking buyer niya ng crudo ang China. So, isa rin po yan sa pag-aaralan, no? Kung ang China umaangkat sa Amerika, bakit hindi rin tayo umangkat? Halos pareho naman ang distansya dyan, no? Kasing layo rin yan sa Middle East, no? So, lahat po yan, tinitignan ngayon ng gobyerno dahil hindi katanggap-tanggap na habang tumataas ang presyo ng krudo, wala tayong hakbang na ginagawa. Ang assurance lang po ni Presidente, hindi po tayo nakaupo lamang, tinitignan po natin lahat ng options at kung po pwedeng makahanap ng paraan, hahanapin po natin yan.
Okay, Salarina Monte to be followed by Dreo. Microphone.
Good morning. Regarding the some lawmakers are apparently hesitant to pass another package of this CTRP. How confident are you that your target will be met, and if not, how would it affect the cash flow of the government?
Okay. For package 2, what we are actually looking at is rationalizing fiscal incentives. So what we want to do, number 1, is to decrease the corporate income tax of small and medium enterprises. Kasi if you look at it, mas malaki yung population, kumbaga, ng small and medium enterprises, and it's unfair that they are paying a higher income tax as compared to bigger companies with incentives. So number 2, what do we want to do with the fiscal incentives? Hindi naman po totoo na tatanggalin natin silang lahat. What we want to do is to rationalize them, to make them time-bound, efficient, transparent, and target-based. So ano ibig natin sabihin dito? Gusto natin na once nakuha mo na yung iyong pinuhunan, kumbaga, hindi forever ang iyong incentives, dapat nagko-contribute ka na sa gobyerno. Pangalawa, transparent, kasi gusto natin lahat ng fiscal incentives nakikita natin. Meron tayong isang body na nagtitingin kung ano-ano ba yung mga binibigay ng gobyerno. Pangatlo, targeted, because what we want is those companies that are actually giving back to the people, like for example, yung nagbibigay ng training sa kanilang mga empleyado, nag-i-increase ng kanilang productivity, or nagbibigay ng bagong technology, innovations. These are the types of corporations that we want to give incentives. So as long as you are doing these things, that you are giving targeted they are transparent, they are time-bound, and then they are efficient, then hindi tayo dapat mag-worry na tatanggalan tayo ng incentives. Kasi pwede ka naman mag-apply uli ng incentives as long as meron kang dinadagdag na bagong innovation, nagdadagdag ka ng tulong sa mga tao. Kumbaga, it's a growing process. So, kailangan laging may innovation para yung progress mo, habang nagbibigay ka ng incentives, dire-diretso pa rin. So, right now, we are having healthy discussions with our legislators, and tinitignan naman po nilang maigi kung ano magiging impact nito at paano yun makakatulong sa kanilang mga distrito.
Are you still optimistic that this will be passed within the year? Because I believe that's the target of the government.
Yes, we're still optimistic since we're already in the committee level and we're having healthy discussions regarding the bill.
Another question. Are you still also optimistic? I think by 2022, you're targeting to lower poverty rate by 14%. With what is happening right now, are you still confident that this target on reducing poverty would still be met?
Yes, ma'am. Because as we already stated, the surveys actually show that the self-rated poverty and hunger is going down. And also, we are increasing education funds, hospital funds. So we think na the basis for you to reduce poverty is number one, to increase education. This is primordial because we want one of the things that investors are looking at a country is the people or its workforce. So right now, we have our demographics, we have a higher percentage of young people, and we have a good supply of young people, and what we need to do is to educate them well para yung iyong mga papasok na jobs ay high-paying jobs or on a higher bracket. So these are the steps that we want to take, kaya tayo nagpupush ng train para mapondohan natin tong mga ito para in the long run, yung ating target of reducing poverty would be achieved.
Okay, thank you, Dreo, to be followed by Pia Gutierrez and Ina Andalong.
11:30 ka kailangan.
Hi, ma'am.
11:30 dapat
Yes.
sila. So, last
Okay.
few questions on the UF. Last few questions on the UF.
So ano na lang, ilimit na lang yung follow-up question, okay?
To the DF, ma'am, balikan ko lang yung isang point kanina. So what's your stand on the calls from the lawmakers to roll back the excise tax, fuel excise taxes?
Okay. So number one, hindi po kasi natin pwedeng gawin na it's just an executive order kasi po pag nasa sa batas, kailangan po para ma-amend natin, mag-pass tayo ulit ng batas. Pangalawa po, yun nga po, meron tayong in-insert na mitigating measure na pag umabot na po ang crude oil sa $80, sususpend na po natin sa succeeding year. Ang crucial po kasi dito is we cannot just suspend it kasi po yung ating mga funding, lalo-lalo na po yung sa free state universities, lahat po yan, yung ating mga gustong pondohan, yung mga increase sa salary ng ating personnel, ng ating mga guro, lahat po yun, yung plans natin to fund all those, mahihirapan na po tayong pondohan yun kung ating isususpend yung ating mga provisions nga po na ating binanggit.
So you don't support this po?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Tapos ma'am, just to give us some figures, how much do we stand to lose if this
We have figures on that.
succeeds?
We'll give you the figures because
Okay, Ina. I'm sorry, Pia.
Ma'am, clarify ko lang po yung buffer na nalagay sa train. You said that when the oil prices reach $80 per barrel for a period of 3 months, what we will suspend is further tax rate increases.
for 2019.
For 2019.
Yes.
So, hindi po yung parang pinaniniwalaan ng taong bayan na yung excise
Automatic.
tax mismo automatic.
You cannot do that because the provision of the law is very specific also that when the Dubai crude oil hits $80 per barrel at an average, it will be the next tranche in 2019 that we will suspend. And it's also hard for us to suspend mid-year because you have already projected in your appropriations, in your revenues, and in your budget, those things that you will fund in your budget allocations are also set in place.
Do you see that being much of a relief sa taong bayan, lalo na ngayon po talaga na raramdaman yung epekto ng pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina?
Yun nga po. So we are trying to implement yung unconditional cash transfers kasi po yung naging kanilang binatikos nga po hindi po lahat ng beneficiaries nakakakuha. So since naipasa na po nila yung national ID, then it will be easier for us to implement that. So yung ating mga buffers like yung conditional cash transfers, unconditional cash transfers at saka yung ating mga subsidies, talaga pong ngayon po niro-roll out na rin po natin. DSWD also can give you figures on that.
Last na lang po, considering the situation right now, how likely does the government see yung suspension ng further tax rate increases on excise oil?
For the oil, we're really looking forward with the meeting of the OPEC countries with Russia because that would be a really big help for us if they increase oil production. Kasi one of the reasons why it's actually the price of oil is increasing because there's a shortage of supply. So if they plan to increase the output, then it would have a better impact kasi it will lower the inflation rate kasi dadami nga yung iyong supply of oil, di bababa yung presyo mo sa market. So, in the long run, we think na hindi yan aabot sa 80, sana, kasi nga magpo-produce sila ng more output of oil.
Okay, MPC, I'm sorry, may prior appointments ang ating mga guests. So, Rosalie Cos, limit your questions, may follow-up question, and Joanna muna.
Hi, ma'am. Kay Asek Alvarez po. Nabanggit niyo po kanina na isa sa mga contributory dun sa inflation, yun pong pagdadagdag ng purchasing power sa mga mamamayan. Ano po ang stand ng DOF pagdating sa proposal na i-increase yung national minimum wage ng 750?
Hindi na po kasi yan scope ng DOF.
Anyway, may batas po dyan. Regional wage boards po magdedetermine. Hindi na po tayo po pwede bumalik sa national minimum wage nang wala pong bagong batas galing sa Kongreso. So ngayon po talaga, regional wage boards. Pero tinawagan na nga po, no, nag-issue na ng mandatong presidente sa lahat ng regional wage boards na magpulong na at pag-aralan kung kinakailangan kang itaas ang mga regional minimum wage.
Okay, Joanna.
Yes, ma'am, tanong ko lang po, I don't know if scope rin to na DOF, but I'll ask it anyway. Since tumataas po yung presyo ng langis, no, sa world market, and ever since maraming kritiko po ang nagre-raise nung oil deregulation law as the culprit, would the DOF recommend the review or like a revisit at least revisit on the law?
Opo. Yung dyan po kasi, yung lawmakers po talaga ang ano dyan, pag nagbibigay po sila ng mga ganyang criticisms, ang nangyayari po sa regular course of business ng ating dalawang houses of Congress, hinihingan lang po nila kami ng posisyon. Kumbaga, hihingi lang po yan ng posisyon sa executive branch, pero at the end of the day, sila pa rin po talaga ang nagde-determine kung anong gagawin nila po sa batas.
Pero may study na po ba kayo or anything?
Right now, we have no position as of the moment. We haven't been asked yet.
Okay, we can only accommodate last 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
Joseph Morong and RJ.
Ma'am, halimbawa yung crude oil price pumalo more than 80 and we cannot do anything about the excise taxes, no? Paano yung scenario natin doon? So, taste this one
Hindi
tayo?
po siya, once it reaches 80, yun na po, yung the DBCC would already convene to suspend. So 80 po talaga yung cut-off. Hindi natin siya pwedeng palagpasin ng 80
Okay,
US
so pag
dollars.
pumalo tayo ng 80,
Yes.
suspend na what?
Yung implementation
yung second
of,
tranche.
yes. Yung for 2019.
Ano?
2019.
Next year.
January 2019.
Okay, RJ? Microphone, please.
On package 2 muna, ma'am. Ma'am, in your consultations with the stakeholders, what are the concerns of private stakeholders, businessmen so far with the tax reform package 2?
Well, for the small and medium enterprises, for example, yung chambers of commerce, they're really positive kasi karamihan po niyan small and medium size, yung mga, sila po talaga yung magbe-benefit. But for the incentives, I think you should...
For those na locators sa zones, medyo merong silang agam-agam, no? Kasi parang ang unang intindi nila, tatanggalin lahat ng incentives. But as Asek Paula has explained, hindi naman ganun ang trust ng government. We will still retain the incentives, kaya nga lang iibahin natin kung paano siya, how it's being administered. So kailangan performance-based, time-bound, transparent at saka targeted, no? So kumbaga may kinahihinatnan yung ating incentives.
Okay, second, ma'am. We see excess revenues from train, right? And do we have new flagship projects that are set to start this year?
For the build, I think it's ongoing. We have the 75 flagship projects, and then yung ating revenues, yun yung gagamitin natin para pondohan yung startup ng ating mga flagship projects.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, last two questions, Christine and Ace. Microphone.
Sec Alvarez, clarify lang. Si Senator Recto, he's arguing that the provision dun sa trail law is self-executory and it should be implemented agad, yung suspension. So, did I get it right? You're saying that we have to pass a law first before you suspend?
Yung
And
kasi
he cited
yes.
Section 5 actually.
Opo. Yung I think ang nalilito po yata sila kasi meron po tayong provision doon na ang sinasabi niyang baka self-executing is yung $80 na average price. Pero kung isususpend po nila yung buong train law altogether, hindi mo pwedeng gawin yon kasi kailangan po natin ng batas para i-amend ang isa pang batas. Hindi po pwede yung executive out of whim, sasabihin lang niya na ayoko nang i-implement yung train. Hindi po pwede yon kasi batas po yon. Para po magawa natin yon, kailangan natin ng bagong batas. Pero yung sinasabi po niya na self-executing, yun po sa average price na sinasabi po natin na pag umabot na po na $80 per barrel, tsaka po tayo magkakaroon ng DBCC na magbibigay ng recommendation to suspend.
Okay, Ace Romero.
Yes, the excise.
On 2019.
Na po.
Question lang po. So you mentioned kung masususpend man January 2019 pa, and then you mentioned yung sa excise tax provisions, okay. But in this case, binanggit nyo rin yung relief, yung mga cash transfers for the poorest sectors. But how about yung mga mahirap din and maybe yung middle class was also feeling the pinch?
Opo.
They will have to grin and bear it na lang.
Opo. Yung sa middle class po na sinasabi natin, yung middle class na po yan, sila po yung nag-benefit sa ating lower income tax. So ang sinasabi po natin, kasi po ang naging automatic response ng majority po is imbis na i-save mo, nagsispend po sila. So gastos po ng gastos kasi nga marami ka ng disposable income. So makikita po natin to kasi for example, food, yung mga Jollibee, McDonald's, tumaas yung revenue nila if you look at their reports sa yung ating PSE, sa stock
But
exchange.
it will be offset by higher prices also.
Actually, we gave more. For example, the government is releasing 33 billion monthly as disposable income for the people. This is composed of 2.5 billion per month for unconditional cash transfer, 12 billion for personal income tax reduction, 15 billion per month in wages as 30% of government infrastructure, and 50 billion is labor cost, 3.5 billion per month for free state universities and colleges tuition. So, dinagdagan po natin. Pero kung titignan nyo yung tax po na ating binigay, kumbaga yung kinuha nating tax, ang equivalent lang po to 36.3 billion. So kung isusubtract nyo po yon dun sa ating actual na binigay sa tao, mas malaki pa rin po yung binigay natin kaysa po dun sa kinuha natin as tax revenue.
So enough din for May to January, to December rather, kung sakali man.
Ang alin
magtitiis muna sila May to December kasi meron naman silang, you're saying, additional income.
Yun po yung purpose natin is to give them additional income talaga. And ito naman pong sinasabi nga natin, nung kinompute po natin, 0.4 lang po ang inano ng train. So, even if we did not pass train, yung global 0.4 lang 0.4 lang yung impact niya to inflation, di ba? 0.4. So, kahit hindi mo ginawa yon tapos hindi ka nagbigay ng additional money, mahihirap, tumataas pa rin yung presyo ng langis. Kasi hindi na natin to nakokontrol.
Thank you, Asek.
So ma'am, yung 12 billion mo is parang yan yung pera na nadagdag sa mga workers?
Yes, actually, it's 33 billion yung binalik natin sa general public.
So, but just focusing on income.
Yes.
So you have 12 billion plus 15, ano tong 15 billion in wages?
Per month in new wages, kumbaga gumawa tayo ng bagong trabaho.
Okay.
Opo, because
Okay.
of the...
Ano nga yung 2.5 unconditional? So?
Yes.
Okay, maraming salamat. Assistant Secretary Paolo
Thank you.
Alvarez. Assistant Secretary Hapitan, maraming salamat po. Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque.
Tuloy pa tayo.
Yes, sir. I'll come back na lang.
Sure.
Thank you po.
So, tuloy po natin ang ating press briefing, and this being a Monday, syempre, pagkatapos ng usaping inflation, dito naman tayo sa mga mabuting balita itong Lunes na ito. Unang-una po, mabuting balita po para sa mga taga Cebu at mga sa buong Visayas. Ang ating bagong Mactan Cebu International Airport po ay matatapos na at magkakaroon po ng inauguration sa ika-7 ng Hunyo. Ito po ay inaasahan na magtaas ng annual passenger capacity from its current 4.5 million to 13 million, both for domestic and international flights. Isa pa pong mabuting balita, meron po tayong first of a kind gene bank facility, the first in Luzon, to be launched in Cagayan Valley region. Yung Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Agricultural Research, through its Institutional Development Grant, funded the Plant Genetic Resources Center in support to future crop research and development, which will be beneficial for researchers as well as to our farmers. No? The Plant Genetic Resource Center is expected to store collections of major and high-value crops, including rice and native corn varieties. Mabuting balita po, bagamat tumataas ang presyo ng langis, the Asian Development Bank in its recent assessment expressed that the Philippines will be able to reduce poverty incidence to 14% by 2022. The ADB lauded the Duterte administration's aggressive spending on infrastructure through the Build, Build, Build program, citing that this can help reduce inequality by bringing in more opportunities, improving connectivity, and boosting our small and medium enterprises. The ADB also noted that the government's conditional cash transfer program has made a substantial contribution in addressing inequality and poverty across the country. We're confident that the government will help transform the Philippines into a high middle income economy by 2022 through further modernizing the country's infrastructure and making available social protection programs to the poor. We hope that this will help Filipinos lead more comfortable lives. Now, bukod pa po dun sa mga hakbang na binanggit natin kanina, as we speak, nagpe-press conference po ngayon si Secretary Bello ng Department of Labor tungkol nga po doon sa kanyang mandato na mga wage boards ay dapat ng pag-aralan kung kinakailangan na nga mag-increase ng minimum wage. As I said, nagpe-press con din po sila ngayon sa office ng DOLE. No? So, ha? Anong opinion? Ngayon pa lang po binigay yung order. Kailangan mo kasi yan, normally, there should be a petition. Pero ang ginawa na ng presidente, inutusan na sila, wag na kayo mag-antay ng petition. No? Pag-aralan na on your own, no? Kung kinakailangan na ngang itaas ang minimum wage. And I just got a text from Yusek Wimpy Fontebella, ang dami nga lang niyang tinext, napakaano naman ito kung babasahin. Pero ang kanyang sinasabi ay, among others, ang DOE daw, mga hakbang na ginagawa nila ngayon para maibsan itong pagtaas ng presyo ng langis. Unang-una po ay yung ini-insure nila na dapat yung taas ng presyo ng bilihin sa mga local gas stations ay alinsunod sa taas ng presyo in the world market, and that there will be no great disparity between the increase in world prices and in the increase in local pump prices. Tapos sabi niya, para ma-ensure ang ating supply security, meron po tayong mga kasunduan with Thailand para po magkaroon ng joint study, investigation, and assessment of possibilities of cooperation on supply. Meron din daw tayong agreement with the U.S. Department of Energy assistance in assessing the options and potentials for Philippine strategic oil stockpiles. Meron din tayong agreement with Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, assistance in response for energy security initiatives in the ASEAN region to conduct a feasibility study on development of a master plan and comprehensive scheme for oil stockpiling. Okay? So, ang sabi rin niya rito is the worst case scenario, the DOE can always exercise its powers to regulate the distribution of oil products in the country, no? So, okay, pero mahaba po yung kanyang text. Ang sabi ko, mag-yes na lang siya sa Thursday kasi hindi tayo sigurado kung saan ang press briefing tomorrow, no? Tentatively, it's supposed to be Bontoc, but apparently Bontoc is so difficult to reach. So it might not happen in Bontoc. We might have a press briefing here tomorrow, in which case I'll invite Undersecretary Wimpy Fuentebella tomorrow if we will have the press briefing here tomorrow, no?
Okay.
Questions now.
Questions. Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, may we have your reaction with regards to the statement of Senator Kiko Pangilinan calling for Solicitor General Jose Calida to resign from post? Meron daw po kasi siyang 150 million peso deal with the government referring to his family's security agency. So parang wala naman daw, ano daw yung difference nito doon sa situation ni Secretary Teo?
I think your question should be addressed to Solgen Calida because he was asked to resign by Secretary Francis, no? But my reading of the Constitution and the anti-graft law supports the conclusion made by the Solgen that there is no conflict of interest, no? He resigned all his corporate posts before he became Solgen, and I don't think mere ownership of stock certificates is prohibited by the Constitution. I have the constitutional provision here, and the prohibition is cabinet members shall not during their tenure directly or indirectly practice any other profession, participate in any business, or be financially interested in any contract or with any franchise or special privilege granted by the government or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including GOCCs or their subsidiaries. Stock ownership obviously is not covered, no? So it has to be, you have to be part of management to be guilty of violating Section 13. And this is also mirrored in RA 6713, no? It's not, the prohibition is to directly or indirectly have any financial or material interest in any transaction requiring the approval of their office. Kaya nga po, ang sabi ko dun sa isang interview ko, I think with Channel 7, kung ang security agency contract ay sa OGCC, talagang lagot siya. Kasi siya approving authority, as in Wanda Teo, it was also in DOT. Pero if it's not in his office, then I don't see the conflict of interest, but I could be wrong. I'm sure this matter will be pronounced upon by our courts.
Meaning, sir, hindi ito enough grounds for
Yes,
him
I
to
think
resign?
mere stock ownership is not prohibited for as long as you declare it in your SALN. And right now, the situation for Solgen Calida is he acknowledged that he has stock ownership, but he's not exercising any management powers in the company, the shares of which are still owned by his family. Okay. And he has not entered into any contract with his own office, the Office of the Solicitor General. So I think there's a world of a difference between the Wanda Teo transaction and Solicitor Calida. Kayo naman, alam nyo naman kung bakit lumalabas yung mga pula na yan kay Solgen Calida. Nanalo kasi siya dun sa co-warranto petition niya. Binabawian siya ng mga kalaban niya, no? Yung mga nasaktan dun sa ruling ng co-warranto. Obvious naman yan.
So basahin ko lang yung question ni Pia, baka may dagdag ka pa rin about Solgen Calida. Documents show the security firm owned by Solgen Calida's family bagged 10 government contracts. Two with the DOJ, Calida will still own 60% of shares as of September 2016. Does Malacañang see any conflict of interest here? How will it deal with the issue given PRD's strict guidance on integrity of cabinet officials?
Again, I read to you the provision of 6713. It has to be interest in any contract requiring the approval of their office. Basta hindi siya mangontrata sa Office of the Solicitor General. Even if he enters into contract with DOJ, the DOJ is not under him. In fact, it's independent of the OSG, and they only go to Congress for purposes of budget presentation, no? Sabay lang sila nagpipresenta ng budget nila, but they're autonomous from each other.
Okay, other issue?
Hi sir, good morning.
Yes, Rose.
Sir, ano na po yung update nung bago po nagbitiw si Secretary Wanda Teo, nagsumiti po siya na di umano yung nagsimuti siya ng proposal to outsource visa processing for Chinese tourists sa DFA. At ang ipinapanukala raw pong kumpanya ni Wanda Teo ay isang pribadong kumpanya na maliit at dati nang nasangkot sa credit card scam. Ano po yung update dito ni Secretary Cayetano?
Nako, you better ask Secretary Cayetano po because I have no idea. As you know, both passporting and special visa sometimes fall within the consular affairs functions of the DFA.
So tingin niyo sir, legal ba yung nagpapa-outsource tayo sa, 'di ba parang may security issue to, visa to eh. May tingin niyo meron pong irregularidad sa ganitong panukala?
I cannot come up with a legal opinion as spokesperson, pero there was an observation made by a prior Secretary of Foreign Affairs that even the printing of the passport was illegally subcontracted. Although that's one legal opinion, others have different opinions.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ina Andolong.
Sir, you mentioned that in the next or upcoming cabinet meeting, different agencies will be submitting measures or contingency plans po ba yun for...
Hindi naman, alleviation measures. May isa pa palang dinagdag si Undersecretary Wimpy, yung vouchers daw for jeepney drivers under the train law. They will make sure that these vouchers are given to jeepney operators. Nasa law yun eh. He cited it. Well, kaya sisiguraduhin natin na makuha nila yun. No?
Sir, dun sa alleviating measures, what was that upon the President's instructions? Because I remember more than 2 weeks ago, economic managers briefed the President about this issue of inflation. Does this mean that the President has a special concern now over the rising prices of goods?
Well, I think ang special concern is the rising price of crude oil. And kasi for the longest time, they appear to be increasing and increasing. It's a worldwide problem. Unfortunately, kaya nga napaiyak na si Presidente nung sa Alegria kasi talagang wala tayong sapat na langis to support our needs. No? We have to import 90% of our petroleum requirements. No? Kaya kahit anong gawin natin dito, we're ever dependent on imported oil. No? Pero which does not mean that we take it sitting down. Pero I think the fact na yung pace ng increase ganitong kabilis is a reason for us to look for alleviation measures.
And
but nothing deviates from the economic assumption of the managers. No?
And that will be the main agenda of the next cabinet
Hindi naman.
meeting.
Siguro I think it will be one of the agenda. Alam mo naman ang agenda namin marami, no? Because we meet at least 7 hours once a month, no? And we discuss many things.
And so earlier you said that you're ready to follow or comply if in case congressmen or lawmakers pass a law suspending
Of
the
course.
train law. But since the train law is the source of funds for key projects like the BBB, won't you oppose it? Won't you ask your allies in Congress to oppose such measure?
Well, so far naman si President has not really exercised his veto powers. I can only remember an instance when he did, and that was when the train law called for lower sin taxes. So he vetoed that provision in favor of the sin taxes law to make sure that sin taxes will not be reduced. So he's very circumspect in his power to veto.
Questions? Pia Gutierrez.
Sir, I know that the DFA will give a briefing on this, but can you give us an overview of what President Duterte plans to do in South Korea?
It's normally Assistant Secretary who? But normally it's the same, di ba? Si Tess ang De Vegang nagbi-brief sa press corps, no? All I know is that there will be a summit with the South Korean leader on the 4th, no? So that's the main agenda, no? The summit with the South Korean president.
Do you know what summit, sir? And what
Well,
is
yun
that
lang
about?
alam ko because normally it's the DFA that will not give us, in fact, the complete itinerary until we get there. But usually si Tess De Vega will give the members of the media a briefing. I think this will be this afternoon. Well, in my schedule, there's a scheduled briefing on the president's visit this afternoon. I don't know if you've been informed. Yeah. Di ba traditionally she comes here and briefs you?
Does it include a meeting with South Korean President Moon? Dun sa-
I'm not sure about the details now. No, I will really have to defer to the DFA because, as I said, even we don't get a copy of the actual itinerary unless it's on the day itself.
Okay. Joseph, we have a question?
Sir, yung sa train lang, no? Okay. Hindi mo pwedeng isuspend yung whole train, correct? Kasi maka-apekto sa revenue collection natin dyan. What we can do is, meron namang self-executory na provision yung $80.
Yes.
So that's the most. Para medyo ma-arrest yung
unless
increases.
Congress repeals the law altogether.
They have, kung halimbawa ganun yung direction nila.
As I said, you know, the president as a lawyer respects the separation of powers. Already it is the month of May, so it's been implemented since January. So we have reported that we've had record tax collection primarily because of train. So if it will be suspended, well, I hope it is Congress does not do so because meron na talagang projected expenditure for the expected rise in tax intakes, no? But ang hinihingi lang natin pag-intindi sa taong bayan, masakit po talaga ito, pero kung ititigil naman natin ito at matitigil ang build, yung mga trabahong inaasahan, yung mga additional nakita sa mga negosyo na ma-generate ng build, maantala rin. So pare-pareho tayong malulugi, no? So hangga't maaari, sana ilimit natin ang ating gagawin kung ano na yung nakasulat sa batas mismo.
Sir, your opinion, yung position, yung ibang grupo would like a 750 across the board increase minimum, across all over the country daw.
I said that's legally impossible because we cannot impose a national minimum wage now because the regional wage boards were created by law. Congress has to repeal that law and authorize a national wage hike anew.
Okay,
so kinakailangan po ng batas galing sa Kongreso.
Last four, Dreo, Rose, and Bernadette.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you tell us about the thinking of the President dun sa pag-order ng study ng wage hike? Kasi sir, di ba, if we increase the wages, this will further quicken inflation kasi ipapasa ng mga company yung wage hike sa mga tao. So tataas palalo yung presyo pagka nagtaas tayo ng wages. So,
Tama po yan at meron ding posibilidad na habang tinataas ang sweldo, maraming mawawalan din ng trabaho. Kaya nga po kinakailangan pag-aralan mabuti. Kaya po ang senyales ay binigay na para magsimula na ng proseso ng pag-aaral kung talagang dapat itaas ang minimum wage.
Okay,
Pero ang ginawa lang po ng Presidente, sinimulan na yung proseso kasi nga po, without this directive, kinakailangan mag-file pa ng petisyon para magsimula.
Rosalie Cos?
Sir, pinapatanong lang po sa office ibang issue. Nabanggit po kasi ni Secretary Piñol na ipopropose niya po sa Pangulo na i-convert yung 70 billion na budget para sa CCT or 4Ps. So, ano po yung stand ng Malacañang?
Well, ang stand po natin ngayon, kinakailangan ng taong bayan ng 4Ps, lalo na po ngayong mga panahon na nagtataasan ang presyo ng bilihin. So sa tingin ko po, knowing the President, mas bibigyan niya ng prioridad ngayon ang 4Ps more than ever.
So, untimely yung proposal?
Ang tingin ko lang po, sa pagkakakilala ko kay Presidente, at pinag-aaralan ko naman talaga si Presidente nang hindi ako magkaroon ng pagkakamali bilang spokesperson, hindi po ata niya masusuportahan yan. At tingin ko, the President's actions will be the opposite. Titingnan niya po kung po pwede pang palawakin ng 4P sa mga panahong ito.
Okay, last three, Bernadette, Pia, and then Joanna.
Secretary, according to Dole Yusek Maglunsod, they have already submitted the list of more than 3,000 companies which are engaged or suspected of labor-only contracting to Malacañang last Thursday. I would just like to know what will the President do with the list po?
Well, alam na po ng Dole ang gagawin nila because the law already provides what they will do, no? They will provide fines and they may even order closure and criminal prosecution, no? So, although the President asked for the list, the asking for the list does not mean it's the President who will act. I think the labor law, the labor code is very clear that it is within the power of the Secretary to close these establishments, provide fines, and even prosecution under the penal clause of the labor code.
Last question, Joanna.
Sir, other issue din po. About nung Saturday po nagkaroon ng anti-drug operations sa North Cotabato and Shampoo na MILF forces yung napatay po, no? And sabi po ng MILF they will file a strong protest sa government po, no, sa Coordinating Committee on the Cessation of Hostilities about this. What's your reaction on this po? Kasi anti-drug operations po siya. and the government forces are claiming na may mga nakuhang drugs, ganyan, and they were disarmed daw po. So, what's your view about this?
Well, nagsampa naman po sila ng formal na protesta, no? So magkakaroon po yan ng mekanismo, masisimulan po yung mekanismo, magkakaroon po ng investigasyon. Antayin muna po natin kung anong resulta ng investigasyon, kung totoo na ilan sa mga miyembro ng MILF ay nadawit sa pangangalakan ng droga. So malalaman po natin ang katotohanan dahil dun sa kasunduan po natin sa MILF, magkakaroon po yan ng investigasyon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Harry
Okay,
Roque.
so I'll let you know as soon as possible if I can make it to Bontoc tomorrow, if I can make it to Bontoc, because everything is weather permitting. Layo pala ng Bontoc. I'm supposed to speak in the graduation of Bontoc State University, and I promised that a long time ago. Pero it's very difficult apparently to get to Bontoc, no? So we will see. If not, we'll have our regular briefing here. But if I push through, we will have the briefing through other means from Bontoc. Okay? See you tomorrow either way.
Okay, thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.